I never expected a snapshot to completely upend my world. However, last Tuesday, that is precisely what transpired. I found myself standing side by side with our corporate director, Mr. Peterson. As we shook hands, we couldn't help but crack a smile. "Finally got that promotion" was the caption. "Consistent effort yields desired results. Achieving a major goal in our careers." It was just another social media career update, so I didn't give it any thought before posting it. How naive of me. It was at Marshall and Associates that I received my big break when I was 25 years old. My name is Audrey. Getting to the position of department head from an entry-level manager wasn't a picnic. 3 years of unpaid overtime, innumerable presentations, and an excessive amount of coffee. What really mattered to me was that I accomplished it independently. My phone started buzzing while I was still basking in the glow of my promotion. Even though I didn't have the number saved in my contacts, I knew it right away. The woman I call Mom. After a long 7 years of no contact, she suddenly started calling me. I peered at the computer, my fingers shaking with each movement. When I said, "Hello," my voice was lower than I had hoped. "Audrey, my darling." As far as I could tell, my mother's voice remained unchanged. When she wanted something, she employed that sickly sweet tone. "I, along with your father, just saw your article. You have our utmost admiration." So proud. I felt a slap from the word. When I needed it most, where was that pride? I choked out at thanks while clinging to my desk for support. "We need to have a party. How about you drop by this weekend? If you choose, we may plan a formal celebration just for you. Seeing how far you've gone is something that everyone in the family is proud of." The entire household. Everyone, including Sarah. Sibling number 2. The ideal offspring. The one that everyone loves. The one who is perfect in every way. "I'll give it some thought," I replied, my voice choked with anxiety. "I implore you, my love, your absence has been deeply felt. Do you not agree that we should move forward from the past?" Sitting at my desk and staring into nothingness followed our phone call. No word for 7 long years. Damaged as a result of an online post. It had been 7 long years since I'd left that house, swearing I would never go back. Creating a life apart from them for 7 years. The medical alert bracelet that alerted others to my peanut allergy was on my wrist, and my hand brushed against it. My parents had previously shrugged off my allergy. The very one Sarah had pounced on in her vicious pranks. I couldn't shake the echo of my grandmother's words. Nobody is really family unless they treat you like one. For the last 7 years, she had been my biological parent, guiding me as I navigate collegiate life, having faith in me while others had lost faith. Throughout my thoughts, the phrase "proud of you" resounded. The irony is that those same words, said by one person, can sound hollow, but when spoken by another, they sound real. Scanning my desk, I beheld the photograph. At my college graduation, my grandma and I were there. That day, her pride was genuine, not the fake type that my parents were acting out of character. Anger and hurt from the past surfaced when Mom called. All of a sudden, memories from the past flooded back. Although Sarah was born 3 years before I was, she has always been our family's rock. Sarah sported luxury threads, whereas I rocked thrift shop ensembles. While I sat in drawers with my schoolwork, my folks snapped pictures of her every move using pricey cameras. My 10th birthday is very clear in my mind. The art set I'd wanted for months finally came. Nothing fancy, just a basic kit with colored pencils and a sketchbook. Instead, I got a pack of number 2 pencils because they're what you need for school anyway. That same year, for Sarah's 7th birthday, our parents transformed the entire backyard into a Disney Princess Wonderland, complete with a hired Cinderella. Sarah is just more artistic, Mom would say when relatives questioned the disparity. She needs proper tools to develop her talent. You have to understand, My Aunt Jessica once said to my parents during a family dinner, "Children should be loved equally. This isn't right." I can still see Mom's dismissive wave. "Oh, Jessica, you don't have children. You don't understand. Our girls are just different. Sarah has real potential." The worst part wasn't even the material things. It was the constant emotional undermining. Like the time I won first place in a state math competition. Instead of congratulations, Mom said, "That's nice, dear, but did you see Sarah's painting got displayed in the school hallway?" My grandmother saw through it all. "This isn't right, Margaret," she'd tell my mother. "You're raising one child to be entitled and the other to feel worthless." "Mom, please," my mother would respond with an eye roll. "Sarah is gifted. Audrey is, well, Audrey is ordinary. We're just being realistic about their capabilities." Sarah learned quickly how to exploit her position. She'd break something and blame me, knowing our parents would believe her without question. She'd accidentally spill juice on my homework, then cry when I got upset, making me look like the bad guy. Once, she even told her friends they couldn't play with me because I was the boring sister. The day I got accepted into the advanced mathematics program at school, Sarah had a minor role in a school play. Guess which event my parents attended? I sat alone in the math classroom during the awards ceremony, watching other parents beam with pride at their children. My certificate was signed by my teacher and the principal, but my parents never even saw it. "Your sister needs us more," Dad would say whenever I tried to express my feelings. "She has real talents to nurture. You're more independent." Independent. It wasn't a compliment. It was their way of justifying their negligence. Even our relatives could see it. During family gatherings, conversations would halt when Sarah dramatically demanded attention or deliberately excluded me from activities. The adults exchanged uncomfortable glances. But my parents remained oblivious, or perhaps willfully blind. Life has a way of throwing curveballs when you least expect them. Mine came in the form of a peanut butter sandwich at Grandma's house when I was 12. I'd eaten peanut butter countless times before. It was actually one of my favorite foods. But that day was different. "Want a sandwich, sweetheart?" Grandma had asked, making her famous peanut butter and honey combination. I nodded eagerly, watching her spread the creamy peanut butter across the bread. 3 bites in, something felt wrong. My throat started to tighten and breathing became increasingly difficult. I remember dropping the sandwich, my hands clutching at my throat. What happened next is still a blur in my memory. Grandma's quick thinking saved my life. She immediately recognized the signs of anaphylaxis and called 911. I remember her holding my hand in the ambulance. Her voice steady but scared. "Stay with me, sweetheart. Just keep breathing." My parents arrived at the hospital about an hour later, clearly annoyed at having to leave work. Mom was tapping her foot impatiently while the doctor explained severe peanut allergies and how they can develop suddenly, even without prior issues. "She'll need to carry an EpiPen at all times," the doctor emphasized. "You'll need to be very careful about checking ingredients in everything she eats. Cross-contamination could be dangerous too." Dad nodded absently, checking his watch. Mom was already on her phone, probably texting Sarah's dance instructor about being late for pickup. The ride home was worse than the hospital. They waited until we were in the car before letting their true feelings show. "This is just perfect," Mom muttered. "As if we don't have enough to deal with. First the math tutoring, now this," Dad added. "Everything with you has to be complicated, doesn't it, Audrey?" Pressed myself against the car door, trying to make myself as small as possible. My throat was still sore from the reaction, but their words hurt more than any physical pain. The years that followed became a careful dance of reading labels and carrying EpiPens. Grandma made sure I had proper medical alert bracelets and helped me learn to advocate for myself. She even called the school to ensure they understood the severity of my condition. Sarah, of course, found endless amusement in my new medical reality. She'd wave peanut butter sandwiches in my face, laughing when I flinched. "Oh, sorry," she'd say with fake innocence. "I forgot you're allergic to everything now." At family gatherings, she'd loudly announce, "Be careful, everyone. Audrey might die if she eats the wrong thing." She made me feel even more like an outsider. My parents never corrected her behavior. If anything, they seemed annoyed by my need for caution. I learned to pack my own meals, check every label 3 times, and never trust food I hadn't personally verified. It was exhausting, but it became my normal. High school graduation should have been a moment of triumph. I earned a full scholarship to Northwestern State University. I'd done it entirely on my own, maintaining straight A's while juggling part-time jobs and constant vigilance about food allergies. The acceptance letter felt like validation for all those nights spent studying while Sarah's music blasted through the walls. The family dinner where I announced my college acceptance is forever etched in my memory. "I got into Northwestern," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Full academic scholarship." "That's nice, dear," Mom said, barely looking up from her plate. "The thing is," I continued, gripping my fork tightly, "I'll need help with housing. The scholarship covers tuition, but not accommodation. I've looked into the costs and—" "No," Dad's response was immediate and flat. "You chose to apply to a college in another state. That was your decision. We're saving for Sarah's education," Mom added. "She's planning to attend Juilliard in 2 years, and that's not cheap." I stared at my plate, fighting back tears. Sarah smirked from across the table, twirling her pasta with deliberate slowness. "But it's just the housing cost," I tried again. "The scholarship covers everything else." "Audrey," Mom's voice was sharp, "we've made our decision. If you want to go to college out of state, you'll have to figure out the housing situation yourself." That's when the front door opened and Grandma walked in. She held a congratulations balloon and a small gift bag. Her smile faded as she took in the scene. My red eyes, Sarah's smug expression, and our parents' cold faces. "What's going on?" she asked, looking around the table. Sarah giggled, eager to twist the knife. "Oh, Audrey got into college, but she'll be living on the street because Mom and Dad won't pay for her housing. They're saving their money for my Juilliard education instead." The silence that followed was deafening. "Is this true?" Grandma's voice was quiet but sharp. When no one answered, she continued, "Margaret, Richard, how dare you? Your daughter earned a full scholarship, and you won't even help her with housing." "Mom, please," my mother sighed. "Sarah's education." "Sarah's education?" Grandma's voice rose. "What about Audrey's education? What about supporting both your children?" She turned to Sarah, who still wore that satisfied smirk. "You're becoming a cruel, spoiled child. I'm ashamed of how you're behaving." Sarah's face crumpled, and she burst into tears, her usual tactic when things didn't go her way. Mom and Dad immediately rushed to comfort her, shooting angry glares at Grandma and me. "This is exactly what we mean," Mom snapped. "Audrey and you, Mom, you're always causing problems, always making everything difficult." Something inside me snapped. Without a word, I stood up and walked out of the dining room. I climbed the stairs to my bedroom, pulled out my old duffel bag, and started throwing in clothes. Grandma appeared in the doorway a few minutes later. "Pack everything you need, sweetheart. You're coming home with me." "But college?" I started. "We'll take care of it," she said firmly. "I'll pay for your housing. You focus on your studies and building your future." 20 minutes later, we walked out of that house together. We left behind my parents' angry voices and Sarah's theatrical sobs. In that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in years: hope. College life was everything I'd hoped for and more. My tiny apartment near campus became my sanctuary, a place where I could finally breathe freely without walking on eggshells. Grandma visited often. She never missed a birthday, holiday, or milestone in my life. My parents and Sarah, on the other hand, became ghosts. No calls on Christmas. No cards on my birthday. Not even a text during graduation. 7 years of complete silence. So, when I found myself standing on their doorstep after that phone call about my promotion, it felt surreal. The house hadn't changed. Same cream-colored walls. Same manicured lawn. Same brass knocker I used to stretch to reach. Mom opened the door with an enthusiastic, "Audrey," that seemed rehearsed. She pulled me into a hug that felt foreign and stiff. The living room was exactly as I remembered it, still dominated by Sarah's achievements. Her Juilliard degree held the place of honor above the fireplace. She sat in Dad's old armchair, scrolling through her phone, barely acknowledging my presence except to roll her eyes when Mom gushed about my promotion. "We're so proud of you, sweetheart," Mom kept saying, the words sounding hollow after 7 years of silence. "Aren't we, Richard?" Dad nodded from his spa on the couch. "Very proud, making your way up in a big company like that. We should celebrate properly," Mom continued, her voice taking on that familiar planning tone. "A big family gathering right here at home. Everyone would love to see you. Aunt Jessica, all your cousins, grandmother too." I asked pointedly, "Of course." "Of course," Mom said quickly, though I caught her slight grimace. "We want to make things right, Audrey. It's been too long. Let's say 2 weeks from now, give everyone time to make arrangements." I found myself nodding, though every instinct screamed this was wrong. "Sure, that sounds nice." The 2 weeks leading up to the party were strange. Work kept me busy with my new responsibilities, but my phone buzzed constantly with messages from my suddenly attentive family. Mom sent daily texts about party preparations. Sarah, who hadn't acknowledged my existence for 7 years, suddenly sent me a friend request on social media with a message that read, "Time to put the past behind us, sis." Grandma was ecstatic about the reconciliation. "This is all I've ever wanted," she told me over our weekly dinner. "For my family to be whole again." The day of the party arrived, warm and sunny. I pulled up to my parents' house to find cars already lining the street. Inside, the house buzzed with activity. Aunt Jessica's daughter, Emma, darted around with her phone, recording everything like a tiny documentary filmmaker. The smell of catering filled the air, all nut-free. I noticed with surprise. "Audrey," Grandma enveloped me in a warm hug. "You look beautiful, sweetheart." Aunt Jessica hugged me next. "So proud of you, kiddo. Department head at your age? That's incredible." Sarah stood by the stairs in a designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent, greeting guests with her practiced pageant smile. Our parents fluttered around, playing the perfect hosts as if the last 7 years had never happened. When everyone was seated at the elaborately decorated dining table, Mom clinked her glass for attention. "We're so happy to have everyone here today," she began, smiling broadly. "As you know, we're celebrating Audrey's promotion." She paused for polite applause. "It's wonderful to see her finally finding her footing in the corporate world." I should have known the word "finally" was a warning sign. And speaking of success, Mom continued, her voice brightening. "I'd like to take a moment to talk about our Sarah. Many of you know she graduated from Juilliard with honors last year. She's such a talented artist, truly gifted." The next 5 minutes were a detailed recap of Sarah's achievements, ending with, "And now that Audrey has this wonderful position in management, we're hoping she'll help her incredibly qualified sister join this prestigious company." The table fell silent. I could feel Grandma's eyes on me. I saw Aunt Jessica shift uncomfortably in her chair. Emma kept her phone trained on the scene, capturing every excruciating moment. Actually, I said, my voice surprisingly steady, I'm not in a position to hire anyone. I'm a department head, not a director. I don't make hiring decisions. Mom's smile tightened. But surely with your new influence. Excuse me. I cut her off, standing up. Mom, Dad, can we talk privately? They followed me into the kitchen, their practiced smiles dropping as soon as we were alone. I thought this was supposed to be a celebration of my promotion, I said quietly, not a networking event for Sarah. Don't be selfish, Audrey, Mom snapped. Sarah needs this opportunity. Family helps family. Selfish, I repeated in disbelief. After 7 years of no contact, you reach out only because you want something from me, and I'm the selfish one? Dad's face hardened. We've given Sarah every advantage, invested everything in her future. The least you could do is help your sister now that you're in a position to do so. We returned to the dining room, the tension following us like a storm cloud. I sat down, trying to ignore the concerned glances from Grandma and Aunt Jessica. The catering staff had served the main course while we were gone, some kind of elegant chicken dish with a creamy sauce. I took a few bites, my mind still churning from the conversation in the kitchen. The sauce had an interesting flavor, nutty almost. My throat suddenly felt tight. A familiar panic gripped me as I realized what was happening. Peanuts, I managed to gasp, my hand already fumbling for my purse and the EpiPen inside. There's Peanuts. The room began to spin. I could hear chairs scraping and voices raising in alarm. Grandma's voice cut through the chaos. Someone call 911. Everything after that became a blur of sounds and shadows. The last thing I remembered was the feeling of my throat closing and Grandma's hands gripping mine. I woke up to the steady beep of hospital monitors. My throat felt raw, my body heavy. Grandma sat beside my bed, her face drawn with worry and exhaustion. "Oh, thank God," she whispered when she saw my eyes open. "We almost lost you, sweetheart. The doctor said it was one of the worst anaphylactic reactions they've seen." I tried to speak, but my throat was too sore. "Don't try to talk yet," Grandma said, squeezing my hand. "You've been out for several hours. The EpiPen and the paramedics barely got to you in time." I managed to rasp out, "How?" "The food. They knew." Before Grandma could answer, Aunt Jessica burst into the room with Emma close behind. Emma clutched her phone, her young face uncharacteristically serious. "Audrey," Aunt Jessica's voice shook with anger, "there's something you need to see. Emma, show her." Emma stepped forward, her hands trembling as she held out her phone. "I was recording everything at the party," she said quietly. "I got this when you were in the kitchen with your parents." The video showed the dining room from an angle near the dessert table. I could see myself leaving for the kitchen with my parents. Then, clear as day, Sarah stood up and walked to my place setting. She reached into her designer purse, pulled out a small jar, and quickly stirred something into my food. The smirk on her face was unmistakable. "That's peanut butter," Aunt Jessica said, her voice hard. "Your sister deliberately put peanut butter in your food, knowing full well about your allergy." I stared at the phone screen, watching the scene play out again. Sarah, my own sister, had tried to. She could have killed me. Grandma's voice broke. She knew exactly what she was doing. The four of us sat in stunned silence, watching the damning evidence again and again. The casual way she'd done it. The slight smile on her face as she stirred the peanut butter into my food. It was calculated, deliberate. I left the hospital against medical advice, driven by a mix of rage and disbelief. The video on Emma's phone felt heavy in my pocket. She'd sent it to me before I left. When I pulled up to my parents' house, my hands were shaking on the steering wheel. They were all in the living room. Mom, Dad, and Sarah, acting as if nothing had happened, as if I hadn't nearly died at their dinner table hours earlier. "What are you doing here?" Sarah asked, barely looking up from her phone. "Shouldn't you be in the hospital being dramatic?" "I know what you did," I said, my voice surprisingly calm. "I know you put peanut butter in my food." Sarah's head snapped up, her face a mask of outrage. Mom jumped to her feet. "How dare you accuse your sister?" she spat. "Haven't you caused enough problems?" I pulled out my phone, pulled up the video, and pressed play. The room fell silent, except for the damning evidence playing on the screen. Sarah methodically stirring peanut butter into my food, that self-satisfied smirk on her face. The color drained from Sarah's face. Then, incredibly, she laughed. "Oh, come on. It was just a prank. You're always so serious about everything." "A prank?" My voice shook. "I could have died. Do you understand that? The doctor said I barely made it." "Oh, please." Mom waved her hand dismissively. "You're being melodramatic. Sarah was just having a bit of fun." "Fun?" I stared at them in disbelief. I had an anaphylactic shock. My heart nearly stopped. "Listen carefully." Dad's voice turned cold. "If you even think about taking this to the police, you're no longer our daughter. We'll disinherit you completely." In that moment, everything became crystal clear. These people weren't my family. They never had been. I walked out without another word, got in my car, and drove home. My hands were steady now. I knew exactly what I needed to do. Sitting at my computer, I uploaded the video to my social media. Below it, I wrote, "Today I learned what family truly means, and these people are not it. My own sister deliberately poisoned me with peanuts, knowing about my severe allergy. My parents called it a prank. This is the last time I will ever call them family." The reaction was rapid and forceful. Shock and fury were the reactions of long-lost relatives. Aunt Jessica posted the video online with her own critical remarks. Colleagues and friends voiced their shock and solidarity. In response, Sarah and my parents defended themselves in the comments, accusing me of being an attention whore and insisting that everything was just a misunderstanding. However, the video gave a clear message. I formally reported the incident the following morning by going to the police station. A legal paper was handed out that afternoon by my parents' attorney. They were formally severing ties with me and disowning me. In a heartbreaking video, Sarah detailed how my lies were causing havoc in the family. It wasn't just me, though. Later that night, Grandma gave me a call. "I've spoken to my lawyer," she stated with conviction. "I am severing all ties with them. My sole heir is you, Audrey. I've always considered you more of a daughter than Margaret's." As the messages poured in, I curled up on my couch to read them all. Backing from actual relatives. Greetings from acquaintances. From coworkers. Emma sent a text message that made my phone ring. "You continue to be my beloved cousin. Feel free to drop by for dinner whenever Mom says. I left a poisonous family 7 years ago. On this occasion, I was hurriedly approaching an actual one. You might not always be destined to have the family into which you are born. At times, you'll need to construct your own.